Hey everybody, Pappy with the Black Duck 24 again. Just had to oil my tripod. Was getting a little bit of squeaking when I was moving. There we go. Now we're not squeaking, so hopefully it doesn't squeak again when we're in the middle of this. Um, just going to go over a little bit of stuff. Um, talked about um, like my channel. I want to do the stuff like the outdoor, like shooting guitars, stuff like that. Reloading. I am not a professional reloader. I just do stuff for me and a couple of friends and my boys. Um, my older brother Ogre is the one that got me into doing it because I guess he got tired of me asking, "Hey, bro, you want to reload some stuff for me?" And it went from him reloading my stuff to him saying, "Well, dude, why don't I just teach you how to do it and you do your own?" So here I'm thinking, I'll be loading out of your equipment, so now I got to drive the 29 miles, when I want to reload. It's not always a good time, whether it be just schedules clashing or whatnot. Um, so the first reloads I did with him in his gun room, um, and then he said, "Well, dude, why don't you just get your equipment and just start doing your own? It doesn't cost a whole lot of money." And he's right to a point. Um, and I told him, I was like, "I ain't got the money for the equipment." So what he ended up doing was he gave me this press, single stage Lee. Um, I like it so much that I ended up going and buying a second so that I can set my like um, I can set up my seating die and my case mouth die in like set my case mouth die up in that one. I can do those, and then after that, then I just hit my lube pad. I don't know if you guys can see my bench here or not, but this is basically my setup. I got my lube pad. This I don't have anchored because I don't use it every time. But if I need it, I have it. I will go over what I have and what I bought new and what I was able to pick up used at my reloader. But I know these. I know the first Lee that I got, the one down here, Ogre gave me for nothing. He moved up to a progressive, and he's been using that for a long time. So he had to dig that out. It was kind of seized up, had some rust down here on the bottom of the ram, but a little bit of penetrating oil and a little bit of emery paper and stuff like that. A little bit of work, and she come right back to life. Still works really good. But I ended up buying a second one. This was about $50 at my reloader supply store. Um, and so anybody out there who is just getting into like starting to think, or if you're thinking about starting to do your own reloads and you want to do it on the cheap, that sounds like a lot of money. But when you consider that the progressive presses are like $200, sometimes like a lot more, depending on what you get. I know the Lee that I looked at, the starter kit, which was most of what you need to get started, was like $280. Um, so by comparison, this is cheap. So anyway, I'm going to swing you back around and we're going to go over the table and I'll show you what I got and roughly what it cost. Some stuff I'll be able to tell you what it was, because I still have price tags on some of this stuff. Now, don't roast me in the comments about, I know there's going to be some avid hand loaders out there that are just going to roast me. Hey, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. You should do this every time. You should, like doing 6.5 Creedmoor and stuff like that. Oh, you should be annealing your brass. And I'm not that serious about it. Okay, I mean, I understand that when you are a competition shooter, annealing your brass can make a big difference. I'm deer hunting, and I'm target shooting. That's pretty much it. Wild, boar hunting. Um, but so don't roast me too hard, man. Um, there's, I get it, but so I'm not saying I know it all. I'm just saying what I'm doing and what I started with, and because I only reload like 3 different rounds, but I know them well now. So don't roast me too hard. You know, I'm not trying to get pissy. I'm just saying, it's like, I know I'm doing what, you know, works and whatnot. So, and I'm safe about it. So anyway, here's what we got. Okay, so we're gonna start here with this press right here. Okay, single stage, or you know what? I'll start at the beginning. Yeah, I'll just start with with what we can see. Okay, this press again, $50. A set of Lee dies. You can see this. These are Lees. It's the full set. You have the one in here, plus these two, and it comes with the shell holder. Does not come with your primer tool die. Or not die. Shell holder. I bought a set of those, and I think these were $25, $26. I got those at my reload store. But anyway, yeah, these one set of dies for the Lees is $38. So that stuff, and you know, some stuff can get expensive. Okay, I bought this case trimmer, which is adjustable, came with all the collets and stuff like that. I got this used. This is a Lyman. It is manual. You know, you got to crank it. I think I got this. I know I got this used at Greg's shop, and I think I gave $20 for it. Still works. And I don't bolt that down, because when I'm not using it, I can push it out of the way and it gives me more bench space. Okay, and then right here, I don't have my cup on. I have it tucked away in my drawer down here, but right now I would have to pull out like 36 boxes of 12 gauge shotgun ammo. I'm getting ready for duck season. But this powder drop was about between $20 and $30. I think it was around 20. But it works good. I like it. I don't go with the really expensive stuff, because I find that if I can go and take my time, the longer it takes me to do something, especially like this, that's step by step, kind of intricate, I don't want to just blast through. And like, there are certain things I do, like punching my primers out. I will go after I tumble my brass. I don't tumble my brass before, or I don't tumble my brass. I'm saying that wrong, aren't I? Yeah. I don't knock my primers out until after I've tumbled it. It keeps my media from getting jammed in the primer pockets. So I do that after. And speaking of which, let's go and show you what I have for a tumbler. This tumbler right here, it's just small. Everything I do is small batch, so I don't need a great big tumbler. I'd like to have one that I could like put out in the garage and let it run for, you know, overnight. This right here, I can set it. It has 3 different speeds on it, and I can set it for 1 day. I can set it for 2 days. I can set it for 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, 6 days, 7, 8, 9. I can tumble up to 9 days in this thing, and I just leave it on 1 day, and I'll turn it up to it has 3 different speeds to it. So I will run it for a couple, 2-3 hours. My brass comes out just fine. If I wanted to, I could let it go a little bit longer, but my brass comes out, it comes out relatively clean, and I just did these yesterday. And I think I let these go for 2 hours, and it comes out pretty good. But what I use in mine is I can get this at any pet store, but it's natural corncob bedding and litter. So it's not super fine. It's about the size, maybe a little bit smaller than kitty litter, but that's what I use. I paid, I think, $12 for that bag, and You don't have to change your media every time. I think just after I tumbled brass yesterday, I finally changed out my media. I haven't changed it out. I dumped that out, and I won't put any more in until I tumble more brass. But I will use that ground corn cob with some metal polish. This is aluminum metal polish. It's just what I had, but I've been told that this is okay to use flits, stuff like that, or even like the liquid car wax or car polish. I've been told those work really good. I haven't tried the car wax or car polish yet. I may try it, but that stuff right there will go a long way. It doesn't take very much in with your media. Um, so going from, all right, so now we've talked about tumbling, which, I mean, tumbling is, it's kind of um, a no-brainer. Now, I've seen there's companies that sell um, like little screens that you run, you set it on a 5-gallon bucket or, whatever, and then you just pour your media in there. Your media goes through, but your brass stays in the basket. I like the idea of that. That's a good idea. But again, I'm a cheap SOB. So what I did was, and I don't know why I didn't think of doing this sooner instead of me sitting there picking each piece of brass out of that. Life hack. Okay. So your favorite brand of coffee or whatever it may be, this is just what my wife has been buying. So what I did was I just figured something out about these containers yesterday. Okay. And I'll get to that. But I take this and I take the lid off and I take my brass and I pour my brass in. I just dump the tumbler in here. And I drilled a bunch of holes, you can see, in the bottom of this. It's big enough for the media to go through, but not big enough for the brass to fit through. So I dump everything in there, put the lid on, and then if you take another coffee container, if you flip it upside down, let's see if you can see this right. Okay, look. That fits. So you hold it and you turn it over. You may have to shake it. I'm okay with that right now, but I think I'm gonna go and I'm going to maybe cut a majority. I'm gonna cut a majority of the top of this lid out, and I'm going to take some chicken wire, and I'm going to go on. Set that over there. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna trace around this part on the outside. I'll trace around that, cut it about 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch tighter than that, and then I'll go on the inside, and I think I'll just hot glue the chicken wire all the way around, because your media isn't if your chicken wire is in here, that's going to help hold it, and then it'll be glued, and you shouldn't have to sit there and shake it. I should be able to just put that on there or pour my media in, put this on, flip it upside down, set it aside, let gravity do its thing, give it a little shake there before I take my brass out, but then take the lid off, and I have my brass. Maybe a little bit of media, nothing to cry about. You can always dump that back into your tumbler. So that's my rig, because again, I do small batch reloads. I'm not doing super precision stuff. It's just small batches at maybe 100 rounds at a time. So again, so that's tumbling. Okay, and I've already gone over my my case trimmer, my powder drop. Did I go over to powder drop? Powder drop was between $20 and $30. I want to say it was closer to 20. Again, nothing super fancy or exciting or anything like that. Primer tool, shell holders. Your shell holders for your primers, for putting your primers in, is not the same as the ones for installing your primers or for your dies. And let me see if I can get one of these out of here, and I will show you well, a lot of you guys that are already doing reloads, you know the difference. Okay, so that is your primer primer tool shell holder. This is your press. So basically, this is the same as this, but it has the part on the bottom where it locks into your dot or into your press. So that's the difference, and that's why you can't use those on your primer press. So those right there, I think like $18 to $20 for those. Not really bad. My primer press, okay, now I'm not saying that you have to use these. What I am saying is they have cheaper versions. I wanted all my stuff bench mounted, not necessarily everything, because like I said, my case trimmer is not bench mounted. I'd like to be able to move that. It's got enough weight to it, it'll stay where I need it to. But they do have, and I have two of them that Ogre gave me as well. They have a hand one, and you just hold it in your hand. This is all the same right here. It's basically this, but it has a different kind of thing, and every time you squeeze on it, it does the same thing as this. This is just a bench mounted version of those tools. They do large and small primers, so that's pretty cool. I have other, like, basically I have spare parts for any of this if I need them. And again, that was, I don't know, 18, 20 bucks, something like that. And something I will recommend that everybody get yourself some cartridge boxes. Make sure that that you get the ones that will fit the ammunition that you are reloading. It's getting squeaky, isn't it? Isn't it? There we go. Now, I don't know what that noise is about. It just started doing it out of nowhere. So, sorry about that on the audio. So, make sure those are caliber you're reloading. Make sure the cases will fit in there. These right here, I can tell you because I still have the price tag on them. Those were $4.29 a piece at my local shooter supply. All right. And the nice thing I'm going to point out about the Lee cartridges, and I think the other ones do it too, is there is, even for beginners, there is a ton of information on these, like instructions on how to set up each part of, like, each one of your dies. It has your information on the cartridge that it loads. These are actual size. So a 350 Legend, this is the actual size of a 350 Legend. It gives you your overall measurement from the nose of the projectile to the bottom of the case. Okay, it gives you your overall case length. It gives you your case diameter and whatnot, and bullet diameter, things like that. The only thing it doesn't tell you is your charge, because this has nothing to do with how much of a charge you're putting. You know, like each round, it doesn't tell you, okay, well, if it's a 129 grain bullet, you know, then it doesn't know what size bullet or what charge that bullet takes. This is just your overall length for case and or your overall length and your case length and case diameter. So I think that's pretty cool. I mean, it's the same stuff that you can get in your Bible. And speaking of which, that is very important. If you're going to get into reloading, pick yourself up one of these. I don't care if it's, you know, if it's a Hornady, if it's a Lee, or if it's RCBS, Lyman, any of those companies that do, you know, the same thing. This will save your ass. And kind of hurt one too. But make sure you have one of these. It has like all your important information, charge loads for different weight bullets, things like that. It tells you what kind of powders to use for what charge, for what, you know, you match your bullet and your bullet weight, and composition of the bullet, because it does, you know, like solids, it does jacketed and things like that, spire point. Um, you match all that, and it will tell you what powder to use and how much powder to use, and that is the big part of it. You have to find that sweet spot, the combination on all, and then you know what powder you have to use, because you have to reload what your gun likes. I did a video about things, something like that, and tuning you have to tune your ammunition to what your gun likes, and that's part of it. Once you find what your gun likes to shoot, stick with it. Maybe you can experiment a little bit. I wouldn't experiment like as far as your charges and stuff like that, unless you really know what you're doing. Don't do it. That can be very dangerous, and I am not telling you to do that at all. So if you do it, that's on you. I don't want to see anybody getting hurt. I wouldn't want to hear about anybody getting hurt that was trying to do something, because I mean, that's like if you accidentally use the wrong powder if you use the wrong charge of the wrong powder in the wrong case, then you potentially, you know, you've created a very serious problem, and it's a very serious hazard. So yeah, always make sure you're using the right charge with the right powder. Always double check, like when powder drop, if you're like me, you're doing more than one round, or more than one style, like going from 6.5 or 35 Remington to the 350 Legend to the 30-30, whatever. Always make sure, check your powder, check your suggested powder charge, and check your powder drop. Make sure you have the right powder in your drop. Make sure you have the right charge for your drop. Make sure you're putting it in the right case with the right bullet. Yeah, because that can be, you know, very much not bad. I mean, we're talking about screwed up like a soup sandwich. So, yeah. And then we're going to get into some other stuff, like just really simple, small stuff. Some things you really need to have, and I know one of the things that you need to have, I cannot get to it because it's either way back in this drawer and I don't feel it, and I have a feeling it's down here behind all my shotgun ammo. Primer pocket cleaner. It's like 16 to 18 bucks for one of those. So again, it's not really that expensive. But one of the things that you really need to have, I don't care what size it is. I have this one. I have my small one. The calipers, you got that one. And I also have a big pair. It never hurts to have a backup. But these you can get, you know, under $30 at, I think this one was actually under 20 at Harbor Freight. This one, I think I paid 26 for at Harbor Freight. But I like the digital ones, but you can also read them manually. But for the sake of speed, I like to have my digitals. Okay, and then lube pad. You know, it's like $5-6 for one of these, and really it's just a little case. And this is a Lyman, I believe. No, this is RCBS. Yep, RCBS. This is like $5 or $6, but it's just like a little foam rubber pad. I have one shot on one side, and then on the other side, ooh, here I can feel the heat now because I'm about to get roasted. When I'm doing larger groups of reloads, like when I do 100 of when I do my 350 Legend, I'll do 100 at a time. Because when I'm out shooting, I tend to shoot more of that. So when I'm doing that, what I like to use on it is I'll use some STP oil treatment, just a little bit on that side of the pad. Smear it around. It takes very, very little. Again, this is for the new people that, you know, they're not reloading yet. You know, if you're just starting, you know, then, you know, but just a little bit goes a long way. You barely need to get anything on that case. But the reason you have to lube that case is because when you're loading, okay, say you're knocking out your primers, okay, you see what goes on here, okay. I know I can't zoom in, but when you run this up, actually I can grab a case. This is 350 leather. All right, you're putting that case in there. Now when you run that up in there, you're not just knocking out your primer, you're also sizing your case. Okay, so say you get it in there and you knock your primer just come out, and you go to take it out. If you put this in dry, you're gonna have a really good time getting that case back out of that die, and you won't get it out in one piece. That piece of brass is basically just wiped out. So yeah, and ask me how I know. Not just once, twice. And then another thing you're gonna need, and it's I'm surprised when you buy this book, you don't get this as a package deal, but digital scale. This one is a Lyman. If you're going to buy a digital scale for this, when you take into consideration how serious doing this is, as far as the risk, there is always a risk when you're doing reloads. But get something quality, because you want it to be right. But this comes with a little powder scoop, and then you got your little powder pan. It's what I like about these powder pans is when you use this when you set your powder drop. Of course, my powder drop, once it's measured, I can drop, see the little funnel down here on the end? My powder drop has one on the bottom of it. So it measures the powder, and then you stick your bullet, and basically you can do the same thing here, but you stick your bullet in like this, and then when you turn the knob, it drops the powder straight down into your case. This, if you're doing like one load or something like that, like doing test charges and stuff like that. And again, that's for the more advanced people. But I'm letting you know as a beginner that you can measure your powder into this, and then you can put your brass into the side, and then you tip it, and it funnels it down into your case. So that is, a digital scale is a must. This came with my digital scale. So, and I think most of them do come that way. But yeah, it's a digital scale is a must. So, the things that you really, really, really got to have when you're doing this is a good set of calipers, digital scale, and then the rest of it is like, cookies and milk from there. But yeah, you don't have to, I'm trying to emphasize, you don't have to spend a whole lot of money to get started on reloading. Buy your book, buy a good set of scales, buy a good set of, or a decent set of calipers. And then it's a matter of just the little nickel and dime stuff. Of course, these are, the press, is $50, but compared to what you could be paying, that's cheap. Single stage, I like the single stage. Again, it keeps my mind busy, keeps my hands busy. Some people just want to run through and get them over and done with. But when you just run through them really fast, you tend to make mistakes. And I like to make sure that I do everything, one step at a time. If you're going to be good at something, then be good at it. Pay attention to it. Take pride in it. So, a couple of presses. Again, one was free. I got some decent gear. It's not nothing fancy. It suits my needs. that's what you're gonna, that if you're gonna start, that's all you need to worry about. What suits your needs. Doesn't take up a whole lot of room. I bought this desk, and it's an old one. It's actually really heavy. The top, I just didn't like the top of it. This is, I'll explain this in a second. But the top of it was really thin. It looks like it's really thick when you look at the front of it, but it's really thin. And I didn't like that. I didn't want it to be flimsy. So I think I gave $10 for this desk at like a resale store. Like I think it was like Habitat for Humanity resale store or something like that. So I gave like $10 for the desk, and it's heavy. And then I gave like $10 for the countertop that I bought, but this thing was huge. This isn't even half of what I bought. I measured the desk, I cut it down. All of my presses are mounted from underneath, so the presses were mounted to the countertop before I mounted it to the desk. You can see, like, if you look, if I was able to show you back here on the back side of my press, or like right here, that is a that's actually a 1/4 20 bolt that goes all the way through, and I've got a nice size washer on the, or a plate that I had to make, spreads that, so if I come down and I'm wrenching on that, it's spreading that pressure from like here to here, and it comes back a little bit. Did that on both sides. But then, once that was done, then I just went, and there's a screw down underneath here too, but I got one on each end in the corner. Yeah, I got screw on each corner. I got one in the middle, and then I've got like 4 across the back. So this thing, it's got some weight to it. And then of course, I got my little spacer for my lamp back there, because plenty of light. Got, when you're getting old, you got to have enough light so the eyes will work. And then little simple stuff that you don't necessarily have to have, but it's recommended. This is One Shot made by Hornady. This stuff is $13 a can, which is one of the reasons why when I'm doing my larger batches, like the 100 piece batches, I tend to use the STP. My stepdad's been using it for years, and I don't think he's ever had a problem. But that's pretty much the lube that I use between this and the STP. Unfortunately, I had already had 2 cans of this before my stepdad told me about the STP oil treatment on the pad. But this, a little bit of this goes good ways too. So, and then like maintenance on my presses, I need to do this too, but I use this on my presses just every so often. Doesn't have to be a whole lot. Now I'll show you this, but what I like to do is I'll just come right here on the front side. I'm not even squeezing. I'll just touch it and let the contact run that down through there, and I'll drop my ram a few times. And this is liquid wrench, I believe. Yeah, liquid wrench. I bought a gallon of it. I do stuff I'll use that in my air tools in my garage. I know they say that, oh, you shouldn't do that. Liquid wrench, it works really good on air tools. Like when you're done using them for the day, I'll of course, I'll put a little bit of this down in there, and I'll cycle, like if it's a nail gun, I'll cycle the nail gun like 3 or 4 times. I'll get some, most of it's going to blow out, but it's going to help lubricate your cylinder and your drive pin and things like that on your nail guns. Die grinders and stuff, this stuff works really great. I learned about using this on air tools when I worked at a major trailer manufacturing company. But yeah, that's what we use there. So just little things like that. So lubricants and things like that, that stuff's nickel and dime. But this, when you get into reloading, it's I think it's fun. It's interesting. Be careful, be safe. I'm not telling you to go out there and do some outrageous stuff with your charges and whatnot, because that's no bueno. Let me think. And anything else going on today aside from the fact that I got to run to town? No, not a whole lot. Um, but yep, that's pretty much my rundown for what I use. And believe it's just a lot of fun. Because the fun part is after you load it, you get to go shoot it, and hopefully before too long I can get out to the range and bring you guys along. And I'm gonna be dialing in a new scope, actually two. I need to dial in two scopes, um, and so hopefully we'll get some footage on the range. Um, got a brother that's wanting to come around, and maybe we'll get him to go too. LB. Uh, Matter of fact, he's been texting me today, so I should ask him if he wants to do something this weekend. Either we hit the range or we hit the lake and do some fishing. So one way or another, you guys are going to get some range footage, or you're going to go on a little fishing trip out to the lake here by my house, not too far. The weather has been really good, so maybe the crappie will be biting. The crappie have been rough out there lately. This lake, I like fishing for crappie. For one, it's really close to my home. And B, I caught my personal best crappie out of that lake. I mean, it's the biggest crappie I've ever caught. It was 14 inches long. Wow, black crappie. Um, so yeah, hey, it's either guns or fishing. Um, we'll see what LB has to say. But until then, I am your temporary host. I am Pappy with the Black Duck 24. You guys check me out. If you like this video, if you find it informative, or if you just want to roast me in the comments, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget, if you got anything you want to say, drop it in the comments. I'm not going to fight with you. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. Until then, keep it legal, keep it lethal. And as always, I want to say thank you to all first responders, police, fire, EMTs. And I want to thank everybody in our United States military services, all branches. You guys do what you got to do. Come home safe. We miss you. We love you. Have a good one.